So the dignity of marriage, okay, although it's always great in all cultures, the dignity of marriage is not transparent everywhere, huh? And we can see that now for us. Marriage is under attack in our country, huh? There is no institution really anywhere on the face of the earth that is trying to protect marriage, that's trying to protect the family as much as the Catholic Church is. It's not transparent. It's something now that, well, men can marry men and women can marry women. It's outside the definition, certainly, of matrimony. It's not matrimony, where there must be a mother. There must be a mother and a father. But it is something that is defined by law and that is being allowed by law. And so we might have a legal marriage, but we would certainly not say that there's people are entering into the sacrament of matrimony, this dignity of the sacrament of matrimony. The well-being of individuals and the well-being of society is intimately bound up with marriage. Certainly the well-being of individuals. We look at studies and we look at children and we look at the health of children. Well, children seem to be doing better if they live in a household, if they're brought up in a household with both a mother and a father. This is not to disrespect the sacrifices made by single moms or single dads, but it seems to be a reality that when parents have both a mother and a father, they seem to do better. And if society, social structures are made up of individuals, well, if individuals are doing better as a result of marriage, well, then it follows that society is going to do better as a result of marriage. In fact, we're saying in our catechism that it's intimately bound up. The well-being of society is intimately bound up with both marriage and the family. Love is the fundamental and innate vocation of every human being. This is part of the vocation for all of us. If we look at marriage and its relationship under the regime as we would have it, of sin, and look at it in that way, the union of marriage has always been threatened. It's always been threatened by discord, by a spirit of domination, by infidelity, by jealousy, by conflicts. Because of this statement, you can tell that when this statement is appearing in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, you can tell that the Church has its finger on the pulse of what is happening within marriage. It's not seeing it as just all pie in the sky and happily ever after. We know that marriage can be difficult. Conflicts can spring up everywhere. One parent may want a child to play sports. A mom may say, no, we're seeing that there are more and more head injuries. I don't want this child to play football. I want this child to be in a chorus. Mom may want the daughter to study dance, to study ballet, and the dad will say, no, this child has a beautiful voice. Let's have this child be in a chorus. So we can see there are conflicts that can creep in just anywhere in marriage. People can become jealous of their own spouses. Plenty of times when women began to enter into the workforce, began to get good salaries, sometimes women would begin to be making more money than their husbands. This is more, I guess, a phenomenon of my age group, baby boomers. And plenty of times husbands would become jealous because their wives were becoming so successful. But the idea here is that marriage, living together, can just be fraught with conflict. This disorder can be more or less overcome by circumstances of culture, how culture deals with it, by eros. Well, I'm having a conflict with my wife, but then I have these erotic feelings toward my wife. It's marriage, so you want to make up to bring that to fruition. Eros can be very, very important in that. An individual's personality can help us to resolve these conflicts. But it does seem, conflicts in marriage, it does seem to have a universal character. This disorder does not really stem from the nature of man and the nature of woman, but is something that that is the result of sin. As a result of original sins, God's gift of attraction can be changed into a relationship of domination, a relationship of domination in lust. If we look at the wounds, the way that we've been wounded by original sin, concupiscence, and we've talked about this before, inordinate desires, not just inordinate sexual desires, but inordinate attachments really to anything, to money, to power, to drugs, to having a successful business. Concupiscence, ignorance. Plenty of times we just don't know. We don't know. We really can't see the effects that our behavior or our behaviors are having on other people. Weakness, that we may have really good intentions, but as human beings, we're weak as a result of original sin. And malice, that we can become malicious, that we have an ego. Well, no, I want it to be my way. I want it to be my way. That, these are wounds that we have. Concupiscence, ignorance, weakness, malice. And we bring these wounds into our marriages because of sin and because we've fallen. As a result of original sin, as we're saying, God's gift, this wonderful attraction that we have, can become disordered. It can become a relationships of dominance and lust. Nevertheless, the order of creation persists. Okay, this is something ordained in the order of creation. It persists, although it can be seriously disturbed. Man and woman, male and female, need the help of the grace of God in marriage. So we look at the remedies of grace. Marriage helps us to overcome self-absorption, egoism, pursuit of one's own pleasure, and to open oneself to another, and mutual aid and mutual self-giving. So again, that might be worth repeating. It helps us overcome self-absorption, egoism, pursuit of our own pleasure, and to open oneself to another, to mutual aid and self-giving. And we see that. So we see that in our group. We see that. We see Shannon giving life, and giving new life. It's a gift to all of us, and having medical difficulties, and yet persisting through it. She goes back to work, speak with her on the phone. Are you exhausted because of the end of the day? You're just getting back to work. No, but I miss Major. No, I miss my child. I wanted to get back to the child. Every time I talk with Kelly or see Kelly away from RCIA, she's usually doing something for her grandchild, either babysitting for her grandchildren, for one of her daughters, or I might see her at a Brother Martin concert at St. Catherine of Siena. She's there for a grandchild. So marriage, this is one of the great benefits, is that it can take us out of ourselves and open us up to fulfilling the needs of another, to have this mutual aid and to have this mutual self-giving, which is really a wonderful experience for a human being to give of itself. Marriage was the first sign of Jesus at the request of his mother was at a wedding. That very, very simple prayer. Son, they have no wine. Those beautiful little simple prayers. Save me, Lord, or I will perish. Simple, beautiful little prayers that produce so much. Jesus' presence confirms the goodness of marriage. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. He is restoring marriage again. This restores marriage to the original order of creation, although it can at times be disturbed through sin. Jesus himself gives us the strength to live marriage and to live this, and that he can give us this strength, that this is a fruit of the cross, that this is a fruit of Jesus' suffering. I can remember one time having a difficult period in my marriage. Years ago, I was living in Houston, went to confession, and asked Father, said, Father, through the graces of this confession, I would like to be able to call upon them, to be assisted, to be an aid in my marriage. And he said, no. He said, it's not through the graces of this sacrament, but it's through the graces of the sacrament of marriage. And when we call God as a witness, And when we are married, and when we are married sacramentally, then we can have an assurance that God is going to provide us the graces, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, to sustain our marriages, to live up to the vows and the requirements of marriage and of parenthood. And the celebration of marriage in the Latin Church, the spouses, and we've mentioned this before, the spouses confer the sacrament upon each other by giving this consent. Yes, I do take this person. Yes, I do take them. It's that consent. They're actually conferring the sacrament on each other. Certainly the priest or the deacon are there. They're masters of ceremony. They keep the ceremony going. Brides can be a little bit nervous at marriages. Grooms can be a little bit hungover sometime. And so, yes, so we have a minister there. But in truth, the sacrament is being conferred in our rite, in the Latin rite, the Roman rite in the West. It's being conferred by the persons being married. They're the ones conferring the sacrament. And the Eastern liturgy, the priest does it. There's an act of crowning. He places a crown on their head. I'm sure that's very beautiful. I've never seen it, but in the Eastern liturgies, that's how it's done. And the Holy Spirit is called. There's an epiclesis. We talked about that on the Mass. There's an epiclesis, a calling down of the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is called to be present into the marriage. And then in our liturgies, too, there are numerous blessings for the marriage couple. The consent in marriage. Without consent, there is no marriage. Consent is the human act of giving. When I was a kid, there was a term that was used. It was called a shotgun wedding. That term isn't used too much anymore. But what it referred to was there were times when an unmarried couple, unmarried young couple would conceive, and so the female of the couple, she's expecting now, and so sometimes her father would approach the man and say, "Listen, you've conceived with my daughter. You're going to marry my daughter. You're going to marry her." And so, because this is marriage under duress, the consent is being given under duress. So plenty of times, if that's happened and it's recognized, they would say, well, that, although the promises were made, because it was made under duress, there really wasn't a full consent. And so we say, well, that wasn't truly a marriage. So consent involves the human act of giving, and the priest or the deacon will bless this. Let's go to the Catechism. I'm going to take a look at paragraph 1631. Paragraph 1631. And so the note there, they're commenting on this. This is the reason why the church normally requires that the faithful contract marriage according to an ecclesial form. Several reasons converge to explain this requirement. A sacramental marriage, it's a liturgical act. It's liturgical. It's part of the liturgy. The liturgy is what gives expression to our faith. The liturgy is the way that we express our theology and a way that we live it out. It's therefore appropriate that it should be celebrated in the public liturgy of the church. It's an ecclesial act. Marriage introduces 1 and 2 an ecclesial order. There are orders of priests and then married people who are called to marriage. This is considered to be an ecclesial order. It creates rights and duties of the church between the spouse and toward their children. Since marriage is a state of life in the church, certainty about it is necessary. Hence, there's an obligation for witnesses. So a person will say, well, no, I never did marry that person. Well, no, there are witnesses there. And plenty of times you'll see, at least in movies, they'll say, well, can anyone's name or state any reason why this couple should not be married? If so, let them forever hold their peace. And that's a time for a person to speak up and say, well, that person can't get married because I've seen them with another wife. I was at another marriage. So they have to be, it's a public event. They have to be witnesses. The public character of the consent of this I do once given, and it helps the spouses remain faithful to it, that this is something that was done publicly.